performance domain of second language learning. Now, an important domain of second language learning is actually the use of second language. Now, the question is, within this very important domain, how would the first language actually help or assist? So, within this performance domain, although it seems that in the performance domain, the main thing is about using the second language, yet the role of the first language cannot be underestimated. It is the first language that actually ensures a high quality of performance in the second language, and that is done by raising awareness in the learners about how they use the language in real life communication. When we are comparing, as we said, in the cognitive domain of how a language is used or what are the functions of the first language structures, and compare similar structures in the second language to perform a similar task, when we are talking about comparisons and when we are talking about differences, then what we are addressing is also a fossilization. We are talking about reducing fossilization. Fossilization, as you would remember, is actually when no matter what you do or teach a child or an adult learner, the errors that they make somehow come to be stuck. So, and you see these learners that even when they progress with other aspects of second language learning, they continue to make these errors, and no matter what, they are still there. So when in the beginning, you know that the first language structures are nevertheless going to be transferred to a certain extent in the second language, if you somehow talk about it, bring about this comparison, make these comparisons explicit, clear in the class and talk about them, because those comparisons are actually taking place in the mind of the learner in any case. So it allows the learner to make the right kind of decision when the child is actually looking at those comparisons. So it reduces chances of fossilization if you somehow address them early. Otherwise, they continue to occur in the performance domain. Then the use of the first language in the performance domain also simplifies the task and allows the learner to talk or to use a language more appropriately to achieve the goal in mind. I have continuously used this example, and I will just simply remind you of that example related to the link of talking about language or using the first language and the performance in or the speaking of the second language. Whenever we are doing a new task, if someone takes us step by step into that task, then gradually you develop a kind of an expertise in that, like riding of a bicycle or driving of a car. So when you are being taught those skills, you are learning them slowly and you are constantly thinking about them when you are doing those tasks or going through those steps. But once you learn them, they become second nature. And now when you are riding a bicycle or riding a bike or actually driving a car, you don't even think about them. So this is what the use of the first language, this is how the use of the first language actually assists in the performance of the second language. It allows the learners to focus on L2 pragmatics, the polite requests. How do you go about it? How do you use, how are certain expressions not correct? How are certain gestures not correct? And or what is appropriate? What is the difference, for instance, between slang language and a standard language? So if we use the word weird and if we use the word strange, which one is more appropriate in academic context? All these things are what can be talked about by the use of the first language, and this is how it will lead to an improvement in the performance of the second language. In any case, we see that the role of the first language in the performance, though apparently does not seem to be to hold any truth, yet the fact is that it does lead to a better L2 performance.